What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today I'm here to break down the Monday night doubleheader NFL slate. So excited too. I love these Monday night doubleheaders, honestly. I think it's great having two games on Monday because I just don't really like playing showdowns on Draftkings. And when we get this, we get two games, so I think it's even better. We get two great games today too. I mean, Chiefs and Bills at 5 o'clock, and I mean the Cowboys and Cardinals isn't as good of a game, but that should still be a really good game to watch. No Dak Prescott, kind of sucks for Dallas, but it should still be a pretty solid game. So we'll get into all of that. But before I do, if you're new here, make sure to leave a like on this video, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment, tell me who you think the best play in the slate is today. All that stuff really helps you grow. Had a lot of growth throughout NFL season, NASCAR, NBA. So just want to continue to growth here on Monday night. And this video is really not as early as I would like to get it out, but it's getting out anyway. So still happy to make the video, still making sure to get them out. Hope you guys had a great weekend of NFL. I know I did. Had a profitable day in the main slate, and actually had a little takedown on Sunday Night Football, so that was great. So hope you guys had a good one there as well. But I think that's really all I got to say. I mean, I do have Patreon. If you want to, I get more content out over there other than just videos, so I'll put the link in the description below for that. So you guys should check that out. But yeah, that's really all I got to say. Let's take a look into the players, where we're going to start out with the most expensive quarterback, best quarterback in the league, best player in the league, Patrick Mahomes. $7,500 going against the Buffalo Bills. This is going to be a day where it's just going to be a ton of offense. I mean, the defense, have fun picking a defense today in DraftKings. It's just random. I just honestly don't play Dallas. Number 3 are all up in the air, I think. So Patrick Mahomes, 7,500 going against the Buffalo Bills. We're looking at the offense versus defensive line matchup. It's going to be overall positive matchup. All the offense versus defense line matchups are going to be positive today. The wide receivers for Patrick Mahomes are going to be Mecole Hardman, Demarcus Robinson, Tyreek Hill. Sammy Watkins is out. I don't really think that's that important for Patrick Mahomes, but we'll talk about that for the other wide receivers when we get over to the wide receiver page. But for now, I mean, those are wide receivers for Mahomes. They're going to be going against, right now, Tre'Davious White. Yeah, one of the best corners in the league. Bills Mafia. Yep. Well, he's questionable, so that's actually kind of big. We'll get into that a lot more when we go over the wide receivers, but he's questionable right now. Then you got Josh Norman and Teron Johnson. None of those are really good corners. Overall, the wide receivers are going to be positive. Look, all the wide receiver matchups are going to be positive. Travis Kelce going against Tremaine Edmonds, AJ Klein, and Matt Milano is also questionable. That's actually really big for Kelce. Overall, going to be a positive matchup as well. Jordan Poyer and Micah Hyde are the two safeties. So everything's going to be a positive matchup on offense. The line in this game is 56. The Chiefs are favored, so they should be playing from ahead, but it's like a close game. It's not like they're going to blow them out. The Bills are the 5th worst team against quarterbacks so far this year, so that's pretty good for Mahomes. Everything looks good for him. All these quarterbacks to me are fine today. I don't want to stress too much about the quarterbacks. If I'm playing tournaments, I'm probably going to have shares of at least 3 of them. If you want to get all 4, I think that's fine. I don't think you have to get Dalton, but all these guys I want shares of in tournaments. I want stacks of. I want double stacks, bringing it back. I want stacks of Mahomes, to Travis Kelce, and Tyreek Hill, obviously bringing it back for Diggs. I mean, that's gonna be an expensive stack, but that's just an example. You can get any of the receivers, any of the bringbacks. That's just what I want on the slate for all the quarterbacks. Josh Allen's great too. I'm not even. Overall offense versus defense is going to be a positive spot for him too. They're not favoring this game. Should be playing from behind. So more throwing for Josh Allen. Love Stefon Diggs. John Brown's questionable. We'll get into more of that in the wide receiver page, but I mean, that's a deep threat for Josh Allen. That's actually kind of a bigger deal for the Bills not having John Brown, and I think people realize. I mean, if you watched the game against Titans last week, they really had a hard time without him because they weren't really able to stretch the field. It wasn't really that downfield threat. I mean, Stefon Diggs is, but that's not all he is. He doesn't just stretch the field. They use him in so many different ways, and you don't want to just put him out there as a field stretcher because then you're really not utilizing him correctly. So that was kind of big for them. It's going to be big if John Brown plays or not tonight. He's questionable. And then you got Kyler Murray. He's in his positive spot against Dallas, who's just been horrible at defense. 14th most points allowed to quarterbacks, and they were top 2 or 3 until Daniel Jones decided to be horrible. Kyler Murray in a really, really good spot here. DeAndre Hopkins is a beautiful matchup on the outside with Darryl Worley and Trayvon Diggs. Christian Kirk's in a good spot. Even going to talk about the tight end a little bit today. And then Andy Dalton's only 5,200. He's pretty cheap. If you want to go cheap quarterback and then get more of the big guys, I think that's fine. I mean, Dallas stacks really aren't that expensive today because Amari Cooper is really not expensive at all. CeeDee Lamb's more expensive than him, which I think is wrong. We'll get into that more with wide receivers. But, Cowboys stacks look good too. Actually, the best overall offense versus defensive matchup today for quarterbacks is Andy Dalton. So that's pretty solid. They're going to be playing from behind. This should be a high-scoring game at 55 total. So I think he's in a good spot. Definitely want to get some Andy Dalton. I think I'm going to be playing some of him. Wasn't so sure how much I was going to until I really started looking into the slate. And I think, Andy Dalton's probably going to end up being a good play. So, Andy Dalton definitely going to be someone I want to get some exposure to. Up next, we're going to talk about the running backs. Page will load. We're going to start off the Buffalo Bills, where we have Devin Singletary and Zach Moss. I'm really not terribly interested in Zach Moss. I mean, I think he's okay. I don't really... These two running backs I'm just really not that interested in. I mean, first of all, it's a negative matchup. Like, the Chiefs' run defense has been pretty good this year. Chris Jones is just great. They're not favored in this game. They're going to be playing from behind. Chiefs haven't been they've been an okay team against running backs. I mean, Josh Jacobs kind of torched them last week, but that's really it on the year. For Devin Singletary, it's $5,100, but now Zach Moss is back. And for the third most expensive running back on the slate, I don't really know how much I want to get there. When Zach Moss was playing the first 2 weeks of the season, Singletary only averaged 9.5 carries per game, along with 5 targets per game, and only played about 57% of the snaps. So that's not really great. I'd rather pay, honestly, for Zach Moss because, you're getting this almost similar amount of usage. I mean, look, 8.5 carries per game, only 2 targets per game, so 10.5 touches to 14.5 touches per game, and then you're getting 45% of the snaps. I mean, Singletary's going to be out there more, but for an $1,100 discount to get more Zach Moss, I mean, we don't really know how well he's going to be utilized because he is just coming back from a toe injury. And I mean, but it's not like Singletary was really impressive or anything while Moss was out, so I'd expect him to get some usage. He's going to get the goal line carries, and he's only $4,000, so I think he's worth getting some shots on in tournaments. I don't hate going there. Probably not going to be one of my higher owned running backs. I mean, I'm going to look more to, we'll talk about Zeke in a second, and honestly, Kenny and Drake too, but Zach Moss is fine. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, I'm going to keep going after him, especially because this might be the last week we're seeing Clyde Edwards-Helaire getting a ton of touches because they just signed Le'Veon Bell. He probably wants to go out there and have a big game and show that he still deserves to have a bunch of touches. So I think this could be a really good spot for him. When we go look at the offensive versus defensive spot, it's going to be positive for Clyde Edwards-Helaire. It's going to be a positive game script. They're going to be favored. The Bills are the best run defense on the slate, so that's kind of tough. But I mean, it's not something that I'm really too scared about at all. We're seeing him average 16.2 carries per game, along with 5.4 targets per game. That's going to end up at 21.6 touches per game on the season right now. In games that are ahead, he's not going to be targeted as much, but still getting some usage in the passing game. When we go look at snap percentage, he's averaging only 64% of snaps, but when he's out there, he's getting the ball. So he's just really not used as a blocker. The only thing is Clyde Edwards-Helaire kind of sucks in the red zone. I think he's had 5 inside of 5 carries this year, and he hasn't even scored on 1, so that's bad. But there is no Le'Veon still, so I don't think that's really anything too much to worry about at this point. Clyde's only $6,000, I think. He's not that expensive, right? Yeah, only $6,000, so not anything I'm too worried about with Clyde Edwards-Helaire. So someone I definitely want to get some exposure to. Just the usage is too cheap. They're favored in a spot. Bills defense really isn't that great. So Clyde Edwards-Helaire definitely going to get some exposure to. Ezekiel Elliott going against the Arizona Cardinals. It's going to be a positive matchup, offense versus defense line for that. They are not favored in this game, but Zeke doesn't really matter. He's a game script independent running back. The Cardinals are allowing the 11th most running back points per game. He's averaging 17.8 carries per game, along with 6.4 targets per game, getting to 24.2 touches per game. That's top 5 in the league in usage. He's game script independent. I'm really not too worried about it. Zeke's going to get force-fed the ball. I think Zeke's a guy that I really want to have a lot of today because it sort of feels like when we're going to talk about the wide receivers, there's a lot of wide receivers that can get it done for you on the slate. There's a lot of wide receivers that can put up 20 to 30 points on the slate. I don't really know about that for running backs. Zeke really might be the only guy. If you're fading Ezekiel Elliott, you're playing Kenny and Drake and Clyde, or Kenny and Drake and Devin Singletary, or Clyde and Singletary. And I don't know if they have really the upside that Zeke does. So I think Zeke kind of falls into one of the, I don't know, if you're only playing a few lineups, a must play. If you're playing a lot in the tournament, I want a lot of Zeke because I think the drop off at running back is really bad. And we're gonna talk about that also with tight ends. That you're going to have to pay it for running back. I just don't see any reason to really get off him just because there's really not a lot of other good running backs on the slate. It's a lot of great receivers. It's a great receiver day. Running backs, not so much. Zeke's good. Clyde's, we'll see. But, I would be nervous about fading the running backs. And we'll talk about the Arizona Cardinals. Kenny Drake and Chase Edmonds. I'm going to fade Chase Edmonds. He's too expensive. Chase Edmonds is 4,900 and Drake's 4,800, but their usage numbers have been completely different. I mean, Chase Edmonds has been scoring pretty well. He's been getting touchdowns, but only averaging 3.8 attempts per game, and it's not like the last few weeks he's not really getting much more. He's averaging 4.6 targets per game, only 8.4 carries per game. When we go look at the snap percentage, he's only on the field 36% of the snaps. So Kenyon Drake's still out-snapping him by like 30%. So Kenyon Drake's still getting to 67% of snaps. He's still seeing 18.2 touches. That's 10 more than Chase Edmonds, and he's $100 less. Like, I don't see any reason to pay for Chase Edmonds here. I'm not going to play him. These are probably the 5 running backs I'm going to play. Singletary, Moss, Clyde, Zeke, and Drake. That's probably it. That's probably all I'm getting to. I don't see any reason to get to Chase Edmonds at all. He's just too expensive for me. So, but Kenyon Drake, he's been bad this year. Like, that's why he's $4,800, but he's still getting the usage. It's still a positive matchup for him. They're favored in this game. Problem is he's not been using it in the passing game a lot, but he's still getting a ton of usage on the ground. So at $4,800, I'll pay for it. Up next, we'll go to the wide receivers, where this is probably going to be the biggest page. The biggest thing on the slate is going to be receivers. A lot of injuries that could that have already affected stuff and that could affect stuff. We'll start with the Buffalo Bills, where John Brown's a big injury, but we also have Cole Beasley at $4,300, Gabriel Davis at $3,500, and Diggs at $6,200. When we go look at their individual matchups, it's going to be Stefon Diggs going against Bashaud Breeland. We're going to have Cole Beasley going against in the slot against Tyrann Mathieu, and then John Brown going against John Brown or Gabriel Davis. Whichever one starts going against Javarius Ward. So John Brown's injury is really big for Gabriel Davis. If John Brown misses, I think Gabriel Davis is probably the best value on the entire slate today. When we saw last week when John Brown missed, Gabriel Davis saw 9 targets and he was on the field 100% of the snaps. So he was out there a ton, running a ton. So I think Gabriel Davis at that point becomes the best value on the slate. Fortunately, that is the first game, so we are going to know that before a lock if John Brown is playing or not. So that's a really big news. If John Brown is out, Gabriel Davis probably the best value on the slate. It'll probably be super highly owned, but that's fine. If John Brown plays, I don't want any interest in Gabriel Davis. I mean, like before that, he was playing 49, 36, 59% of snaps. 1 target, 4 that 1 week, and then 1 and 2. Like, he's just not utilized that much in the offense. But other than that, it's fine. Stefon Diggs averaging 10.2 targets per game right now. Just been out of his mind recently. Cole Beasley seeing a good bit of targets too, averaging like 6 per game and only 4,300. I think both of them are really good plays. So I definitely like going to them a lot. I think those are good receivers. But John Brown's the big news. Honestly, the big news on the entire slate is John Brown, if he plays or not. Because if he's out, then yeah, Gabriel Davis is just a great value, and I'm going to be playing a ton of him. And I think you should as well. He's in a good matchup as well. So up next, we got the Kansas City Chiefs, where Sammy Watkins is out for a few weeks. So Mecole Hardman, Tyreek Hill, and Demarcus Robinson are the starting wide receivers. And Hill's expensive because he's Tyreek Hill, but Demarcus Robinson's only $3,300 and Mecole Hardman's only $4,200. There are going to be some pretty solid values on this slate. And then Tre'Davious White's questionable. If he misses, that's just an even better spot for these receivers. I mean, Tyreek Hill's going to play the majority out of the slot, but he's still going to see some Tre'Davious White. But Mecole Hardman, that's going to be a huge, huge advantage to him. So these are guys I want to get advantage of. They're guys that have a ton of upside because, it's the Chiefs' offense, they're downfield threats, but they're also going to be playing more. If we go look at the snap percentage, Sammy Watkins got hurt during the last game, so Mecole Hardman ended up playing 71% of snaps. He'd been playing 29, 65, 39. Same thing with Demarcus Robinson. He saw a bump from 47, 62, 55 to 69% when Sammy Watkins got hurt. So they're going to be out there a lot more, seeing a lot more snap percentage. So that's really, really big for them. And when we go look at usage, Mecole Hardman's still only seeing 3.4 targets per game. Demarcus Robinson only seeing 3, but he saw 4 last game when Sammy Watkins went out, so that's kind of big. Tyreek Hill still seeing his 7 and getting usage in the red zone, which is always great. I don't really feel like I need to talk about Tyreek Hill that much. He's a great play on his slate. Only 6,700 he's one of those receivers. He can get you 20. Legitimately, if John Brown plays, he can get it. Stefon Diggs can get 20. Honestly, Hardman can too. That's really less likely, but Tyreek Hill definitely can. Amari Cooper can. Gallup has the upside. Lamb has the upside. And then DeAndre Hopkins. There's just a ton of good receivers on this slate where you don't have to necessarily play the top guy, which is Hopkins, which we'll talk about in a minute. Next, we'll go to the Dallas Cowboys receivers, where you have Amari Cooper, Michael Gallup, CeeDee Lamb, and I put in Cedric Wilson today. Now, the Arizona Cardinals have allowed 30th most points to wide receivers this year, which is really good, but I'm not really too worried about it. Patrick Peterson's been bad. Drake Kirkpatrick's been really bad. These corners just are not good. When we go look at usage, Amari Cooper, outside of last week's 4 targets, is seeing almost double digits every week. So he's still, and he's only $1,500. He's cheaper than CeeDee Lamb this week, which is ridiculous. Amari Cooper is probably going to be the most popular player in the slate because he's just ridiculously cheap. Patrick Peterson's bad now. He's not a good cornerback anymore. This should be an easy matchup for Amari Cooper. I think he's in a great spot. Last week, he faced James Bradbury, one of the premier shutdown corners in the league this year. He's been absolutely elite. He held him to a ridiculous number there. But in week 4, Cooper didn't play well, but he saw 16 targets. So he's still super utilized in this offense. It's just ridiculous that he's I think he's 58 and Lamb's 59, something like that. I'm sorry, 55 and 58. 58 CeeDee Lamb, 5,500 Amari Cooper. Like, that's just too cheap for Amari Cooper. Like, what? Why is he that cheap? I know he's been playing kind of bad recently, but, like, yeah. Don't fade Amari Cooper today. I think he's the best play on the slate, honestly. I don't see any reason why he's not. He's just too cheap. Then you got Michael Gallup. He's averaging 5.6 targets per game, but he has the best individual cornerback matchup on the entire slate against Drake Kirkpatrick. It's been horrible. It seemed like when Andy Dalton got in, he started using Michael Gallup a little bit more. I think Michael Gallup, he's just a deep guy who has a ton of upside every single week, so he's too cheap too. I want to get to him. And then CeeDee Lamb's just seeing solid usage every single week, averaging 8 targets per game. Saw 11 last week. You probably won't see that again, but that's because, Cooper was getting locked up. But somewhere between like 6 and 10 targets for CeeDee Lamb should be very utilized. He's utilized in the red zone, deep threat. He's a stud, man. CeeDee Lamb's just gonna be insane. He's so good. So in a really good matchup today, I think he has upside. Definitely someone I want to get some exposure to. And then Cedric Wilson, the last 3 weeks, has seen 7, 6, and 4 targets. Like, that's just really, really good. Now, his snap percentage is not going to look good. Only 29%, 22%, 22%. And I'm really hesitant to play him. But if you want to take some deep shots at value. Now, I think if John Brown misses and Gabriel Davis is available, there's no point even going there because you just already have your value guy. But if John Brown's in, I think Cedric Wilson's worth a shot because they are going to be playing from behind, and he's getting usage, and he's scored some touchdowns. So I think Cedric Wilson's worth a shot here, only 3,200, I believe. So I think he's a good play. Then we'll close this out, the Arizona Cardinals wide receivers, where we got Larry Fitzgerald, DeAndre Hopkins, Andy Isabella, and Christian Kirk. The Cowboys have allowed the second most points to wide receivers on the year so far, so a really good spot for any Arizona wide receivers this week. Larry Fitzgerald has been getting some usage in the passing game, averaging 5.5 targets per game. I don't really ever like playing Larry Fitzgerald, and I'm honestly probably going to continue to just not play Larry Fitzgerald because his ADOT's so low. He's just not getting the ball thrown too deep. It's just these little short dump-off targets like Adam Humphries a lot, so I don't think Fitzgerald is really a spot that I want to get a ton of exposure to. I just don't really ever play him. I mean, it's just something I do. It's usually worked out for me. He really never pops off. Hasn't popped off in a few years, so I don't expect that to happen tonight. But DeAndre Hopkins, on the other hand, it's 7,900. I mean, it's just in a great spot. He's averaging 10.25 targets per game. He's getting thrown the ball so much. They're not favored, they are favored, but it should be a closer game. I don't think this is going to be a blowout by any means. The one thing about DeAndre Hopkins, like I talked about with Ezekiel Elliott, where it's kind of tough to get off the top-end running back because it's kind of a drop-off in running back position on DraftKings, it's not. DeAndre Hopkins is 7,900. Well, it's not for wide receivers. DeAndre Hopkins is 7,900, but like Tyreek Hill's 67, Diggs is like 62. Like, you have these guys that have the upside that DeAndre Hopkins does for cheaper. I mean, CeeDee Lamb 58, Amari Cooper 55. Like, all these guys have the same amount of upside, and well, I mean, maybe not the same, but similar upside to DeAndre Hopkins, and they're just a lot cheaper. So if there's, I'm not saying fade DeAndre Hopkins. He's in a great spot. I mean, Dallas is terrible against receivers. An individual cornerback match against Darryl Worley's pretty good for him. But, like, it's not something that, like, you don't have to play him because there's other good wide receivers on the slate. So don't be, like, trying to force in DeAndre Hopkins. If you're coming down to Hopkins or Zeke, I'm playing Zeke. So that's just my opinion on that. And then Andy Isabella, he's the number 4 guy in his team, but he is a deep threat. We've seen him in the last few weeks get some more usage. Now, I don't want to count that week without Christian Kirk because that's different. But and after that game, he's seen 42% of snaps and then 30%, which, I mean, isn't great, but 3 targets in each of those 2 games, and he has deep threat ability. He's only like 3,300 on DraftKings, I'm pretty sure, 34. So he's cheap. I don't hate going there whatsoever. I think Andy Isabella is just a fine punt play if you want. Again, if John Brown misses, I don't think there's any point even going down here. These guys are just guys that if I might sprinkle in tournament lineups because they have upside, Isabella and Wilson. But now if John Brown misses and Davis is out, I'm probably not even going to play either of these two. It's just going to be all Gabriel Davis because I know he's going to have a much bigger role in the offense. So Christian Kirk, $4,500, last wide receiver we're going to talk about. He's going to go up against Trayvon Diggs. Kirk's been seeing pretty solid usage, averaging 5.25 targets per game. The snap percentage hasn't been too high, only 60% snaps, but I'm not really too worried about that. We haven't seen Christian Kirk pop off this year, but maybe this is the week it happens, so definitely someone I want to get some exposure to just because of his usage in the offense. And we'll close this out with tight ends, which is the thinnest position by far on the slate. Travis Kelce is the guy in the cover because I just think honestly, Travis Kelce is about as close to a lock as I think you can get. And honestly, it's a tough matchup. Like, if Matt Milano plays, he's one of the best tight end coverage linebackers in the league, if not the best. Really tough spot there. Overall, going to be positive matchups for all these guys, though. We'll go look at the usage and the snap percentage. It's really what's important. I mean, the Bills have still allowed the fourth most amount of points to tight ends this year, but they have had 2 games without their best linebacker coverage guy. So our tight end coverage guy and a linebacker, Matt Milano, so that's kind of tough. But Kelsey definitely, I mean, we saw Jonnu Smith and Gesicki both torch them without Matt Milano. So Travis Kelsey, definitely in a spot. If Matt Milano misses, I think Kelsey's just a lock. Like, I mean, it's just you look at these other tight ends and you're just like, I really don't want to play these guys. They're not really that good. It's like another position where it's just a huge drop-off in production after Kelsey. Like, after Zeke, huge drop-off. After Kelsey, huge drop-off. So I feel like Kelsey's just a really good play. He might honestly be my highest owned player on the slate, unless Gabriel Davis is really in play. Then he probably won't be, but Travis Kelsey, definitely, I'm really interested in. Then we got the other 3 tight ends. We'll start with Tyler Kroft. There's no Dawson Knox for the Bills today. He's out. So in the one game, which was week 3, where Dawson Knox missed, we saw Tyler Kroft get 5 targets and was on the field for 70% of snaps. So that's a pretty good value, only $3,200. I think he's someone that I could get some exposure to. I'm not going any 2 tight ends tonight. I don't think you should. I don't really think you should ever go 2 tight end unless like Kittle and Kelsey are on a small slate. Like, that's really it. Only a few tight ends where I'd really ever consider going 2 tight end with. I'm not going 2 tight ends, so I think Kroft's a good tight end to go after. He's just, I mean, that game Dawson Knox missed, he had some usage. The Chiefs not great against tight ends, 13th most points to tight ends this year. He gets usage in the red zone. Josh Allen loves throwing to these guys in the end zone to tight ends, so I think Tyler Kroft definitely is someone that could pop off and maybe hit a touchdown or something, and it's gonna be very valuable. Dalton Schultz, $4,300. We saw him only get 3 targets last week, which is a little bit concerning, so I'm a little bit worried there. But before that, he'd been seeing a lot, 4, 10, 6, 8 targets. When we look at snap percentage, he was still on the field. He was actually on the field more last game than he was in any other game, so maybe I'm not too worried about it. So I think Dalton Schultz could be okay, but I'm not really too excited for that one. I'd rather just pay a little bit less for Tyler Kroft, honestly. And then Dan Arnold's a sneaky one, I think. Didn't see any targets last week, but prior to that, 2.4 on the season. Only played 36% of snaps last week too, which really is kind of concerning, but for the most part, he's in the game. He's going to get usage in the red zone, so I think Dan Arnold, if you want to take a shot on, maybe. Honestly, I don't think I'm going to play him. I'm probably just going to, honestly, I might stick to just Kelsey and Tyler Kroft, but I'll probably get some Dalton Schultz as well. But I think that's really all I got to say on the tight ends, on the video overall. Defense, it's kind of a crapshoot, man. Honestly, I don't want to play the Cowboys defense because they're just bad, but I think the Chiefs is a good one to play because Josh Allen's definitely prone to turning over the ball. Same thing with the Cardinals because Andy Dalton's also prone to turning over the ball. And then if you want to look at the Bills, they're probably the best defense on the slate. So even though they really haven't been doing well this year, but they still are the best defense. They are going against Patrick Mahomes, but he's definitely vulnerable. I don't expect any defense to get over like 3 points tonight, honestly. So I wouldn't really worry too much about that. I'm probably going to play all 3 of them, just kind of randomize them in there. They're all relatively the same price as well, so don't worry too much about defense. Just kind of pick a random one. Don't pick the one playing against your quarterback, and you'll be all right. So thank you guys so much for checking this out. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Make sure to leave a like on it, subscribe, leave a comment. Tell me who you think the best play in the slate is. If you don't think it's Travis Kelsey, if you don't think it's Gabriel Davis, if John Brown misses, tell me who the best play in the slate is. I hope you guys have a great rest of your weekend, or a great rest of your week. It's Monday Night Football. Thursday night's coming up. Giants, my favorite team. Yeah, they're terrible. I want them to lose. Want Trevor, but whatever. Had to freaking beat Washington yesterday. But, yep, Thursday Night Football this week. That video is coming out. I'll be getting out content for Week 7. Already going to get started on that today. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys have a great night and make some money tonight.